goblins, and welcome to my little talk video. But, in all seriousness, what's up goblins? I'm Scully the Goblin. Welcome to my channel if you're new, and if you aren't new, then welcome. So, this video is just going to be me talking about the next Mass Effect game, Mass Effect 4. Or is it going to be named 5? It all really depends if they consider this game canon. Now, fuck, my controller, or its battery's low. Hold on, give me a moment. Fuck's sakes. Hello? Hello? Can anybody hear me? Hello? Yep, you goblins can hear me. So, now, this video is called Mass Effect 4 Story and Feature Speculation. And now, I want to get right into this, but I'm not gonna lie to you new goblins or new races out there. I'm not good at when it talks to talk videos. Like, most videos I make are just me, like, talking about stuff I want to see. Some of the stuff is not what I want to see, but this video is going to be me talking about stuff that, well, I hope to see. This is a speculation video. It's just going to be me, like, talking about, I guess, the next game. And where do I want to start on? The features or the story? It makes more sense to talk about the story. Now, we all know how the original trilogy ended. We all know about the dumpster fire that is Andromeda and how it actually is semi-good, but mostly bad. Like, the features I like are the jump jet and a bit of some of the gunplay, including, like, the open world aspect. I like open world games in general. However, there's some hardcore Mass Effect fans who just really don't like open world Mass Effect. I mean, I'm open to the idea of it if it's done right. And it was not really done right with Andromeda. But, anyways, I want to talk about, like, the story in that. So, we're going to have to focus on, like, the third, like, well, fourth game here. Now, in the third game, spoiler warnings, if you are new to the franchise and that, go play the third game. And I believe the remastered trilogy is supposed to come out in a couple of months, so yeah, or just watch somebody's Let's Play on it. Either way, it works, but where was I getting at? Oh yeah. Now, if you play the trilogy, it's basically a story of Commander Shepard. And you're basically, like, trying to stop these giant machines called Reapers. So I'm just going to give you goblins a quick version of this, and then we'll start on, like, the story of that. In Andromeda, I see this as, like, a side game. It's not, like, to the main, like, story or that. You play as a character called Ryder, or either one of the twins.
Radiation levels.
Now, here's what I have to say to this. Those games are basically playing out some of my story. And in the third game, we see Shepard die. Or does he? The ending of that still eludes me. If you play your cards right, you end up, like, seeing, like, a guy in N7 armor take, like, his final breath or first breath, or takes a breath in general.
Pathfinder, this area can be mined for resources. You can extract minerals via
Hold
your
on, throat's
mining
getting a bit
interface.
dry. Shit. I just made a different video earlier. That's better. So, in the third game, like, Shepard dies or he doesn't die. It all really, like, depends on, like, choices and that. Now, here's something that I'm trying to, well, what I think, I guess. Now, in the third game, you have 3 different endings. You have Control, which I think is where you control the, it's where you control the Reapers. Synthesis, I think, is the other one. I don't know if I said that right. Where you basically fuse humans and like organics and inorganics together, like machines and humans together. And the third one, which is the one I think is canon, is Shepard basically destroys them. Like, destroys, like, synthetics and things like that. Basically destroys the Reapers. Now, in the Mass Effect Will Continue trailer, you do see a couple of dead Reapers in the trailer.
I like
However,
busting dudes, getting all 6 wheels off the ground. We're outfitted best we can be.
This place is a strain on our gear, but so is everywhere else.
well, shame I can't use them. Anyways, where was I? So, in the game, you basically see...
Pathfinder, this area can
Missed
be
it.
mined for resources. You can extract minerals via your mining
Good first
interface.
time. So, where was I? Fuck, I got mixed up there. Alright, so in the third game, like, Shepard, like, you got to get what I'm trying to say. Now, there's, like, several things you see happen in the third game. Andromeda, like, takes place, like, many, many years after, like, Mass Effect 3. I don't remember how many years it does take place after. Don't really pay attention to that much.
Speed bump!
So, anyways, Goblins, where was I? Oh, yeah. Now, I think basically the next Mass Effect story will take place, like, in the Milky Way. That's pretty obvious because of the trailer. But here's what I think will happen in that game. Now, if you did play the third game, you know, a lot of the Milky Way galaxy was pretty much destroyed by the Reapers. Like, at my guess, there's, like, enough of, like, the species to populate probably a couple of planets in that. Like, enough of the Milky Way species is to, like, continue their race in that. So it makes me wonder, so many cities were destroyed, so many homeworlds, that sort of thing. It made me wonder. Fucking throat keeps getting dry.
Radiation levels normal.
Ah, there we go.
Life support restored.
Now, there's many ways the next story could, like, take place. I'm gonna stop, like, stuttering if I can now. There's different ways the next story could take place. In the third game, we see, like, Shepard either die or survive, or hell, maybe it's a different person who took a breath underneath that rubble. But what was I gonna say? Oh, yeah. Now, there's, like, many ways the story could continue. It could continue, like, after, like, people have rebuilt the Milky Way, like, created new colonies, created new worlds. Well, not create new worlds in that. However, I see that as a bit of a missed
Should
opportunity.
be a memorial or monument. When there's time.
That guy is still there, damn.
Hard
Now-
lessons we can't forget.
We knew Promise would die. All we could do is watch it happen.
Okay, they're done talking. So, anyways, Goblins. In Mass Effect Andromeda, I'm going to be comparing, like, some of the games here for a moment. And don't, like, judge me. They had a missed opportunity. They could have made it so, like... In the first outpost, you pick if it's military or, like, a scientific outpost. You couldn't, like, pick how the outpost looked. You couldn't basically, like, how do I put this? Like, pick what type of, like, race is, like, on the planet, like, who gets to live there and what. That sort of thing. But here's what I'm thinking. And mind you, this is something that I'm thinking. I'm not saying other people would want to see it, that sort of stuff. But
Detecting
I think
above normal radiation
this would be a
levels.
missed opportunity if they did not take this opportunity. So, I think the next game will take place probably maybe a few years after the Reapers are
Radiation
dead.
levels normal.
Maybe 5 or 4 years, or even like 2 or maybe even 3 years. If it takes place like a couple of years, not a lot, after the Reapers attacked, then I imagine there would not be like a whole lot of like planets that are inhabited by different like Milky Way species. However, that means there's going to be like people trying to set up colonies. Some of them will be part of, I guess, the government of like the Milky Way, like the new Citadel Council, that sort of thing. throat got dry there for a second, sorry. But here's what I'm hoping for the next game. Some of you may not like it, some of you may like it. I hope the next game you could create your own character. Now you might be wondering, Scully, you can do that here. Technically, you can. And the story of Mass Effect 3 is the story of Shepard. The story of Mass Effect Andromeda is the story of Ryder.
Will be all too eager.
Our people came a long way.
Yeah.
Nothing here will stop them. Seems less harsh than when we first landed. Maybe I'm just getting used to it.
So, in both those stories, it's like you playing as like this one person. You can't exactly pick what they say in that. You can't like pick to be like the bad guy or the good guy. All you can do is walk the gray line in between good guy and some guy who's just a dick. Now, you might be wondering, Scully, are you saying you want to make it so like the next game you could actually play as the bad guy? Well, yeah, actually I am.
This area can be mined for resources. You can extract minerals by your
How do I
interface.
shut Sam up? Now, mind you, goblins, this little idea is going to be kind of stupid, but kind of not at the same time, at least in my opinion. I think the next game should be about basically trying to rebuild the Milky Way. Now, I imagine you could be like, I'm actually hoping in the next game you could pick to play as a different race, not just like humans and that. And, like, I know a friend of mine who wants to play as a Krogan. I know another friend who wishes to play as a Turian. And me personally, I want to actually give two races a try. I want to give Quarians a try, and I want to give Drell. I think I said that name right. Been a while since I actually said most of the names, shit. But I would actually like to give those races a try. Now, mind you, I hope they actually focus on the story in the next game, not just the gunplay and that, and I do hope the next game is open world. However, here's a feature that I wish to see in the story in that. Basically being able to pick where a settlement goes. Now, mind you, I figured there could be like different areas where different settlements can be put up. Like, let's say you're on a desert planet, kind of like this planet in Andromeda. There's like 4 or 5 locations where you can set up, but you can only set up in 2 locations. Now you might be wondering, Scully, why only 2 locations? Because I imagine you aren't the only one trying to rebuild like the Milky Way galaxy, trying to take planets, try to colonize them and that. No. I imagine there will be people such as like pirates who are trying to actually set up like their own like little homes in that, where they basically, instead of like farm for crops or that, they just like go out and raid other planets and that. Or hell, settlers who are basically trying to take a planet to start up farms and that. Or maybe even scientists who are just trying to research like ways to actually help rebuild stuff, or even help rebuild the mass relays. Or a militaristic like group who are just straight up trying to, I guess, take over the galaxy or that. Now, you could go different ways with like different, how do I put this? Different stories in that. But I did like the idea of being able to set up colonies and that from Andromeda. That was one of the things I actually liked about this game. However, I thought they could do more with the colonies in that. Like, I was hoping they would make it so you could pick, like, the leader. You could actually choose to be the leader of the colony, or hell, you could even pick, like, what they do in the colony and that. Like, you get the options to make it a military colony or, like, a scientific colony. You don't even get to choose what colors the buildings are, or what, like, races get to live there, or hell, what some of the races even wear, like a certain color pattern to the thing. You couldn't even, like, you couldn't even pick, like, something in between, like... Alright, I'm gonna give you guys, like, a scenario, I guess. Alright, let's say they go with this story where you're basically rebuilding the Milky Way. You're setting up, like, worlds and that.
But it's still mostly hard work.
In that here real quick.
Once we figure out the seasons.
Can I scan this thing?
Not exactly a Christmas-type planet.
Alright. Now, let's say that you set up a colony. Mind you, I do hope they make it so, like, in the game you have, like, customizable backstories. Like, in depth, and I hope you could actually name like your characters of that, like from preset names. That way you could like, let's say you pick the name Jack or Joe or even Tyler or Trevor or Michael or Mike or Matt. Let's say that you could actually pick like preset names and they would actually call you by those names. Now they could be your names, there could be like pretty much anybody's name. Or hell, maybe even pick a nickname that, like, NPCs and that would call you. Basically, what I'm hoping is that they try to actually go with, like, the open world game. But I hope they actually do it right this time. They don't just, like, say, hey, here's gunplay, here's this, here's that. And I hope they focus on the story. That's the one thing I like about Mass Effect, the stories of the game. I still have to scan these guys.
Pathfinder, this area can be mined for resources. You can extract minerals via your mining interface.
Oh, shut up. Now, alright, I have to give that snarl. Now, let's say that you, like, decided to pick, like, let's say you picked, like, a Turian who was part of a new, like, Turian government, like, new Turian, like, military. And you were basically a captain or something. You got promoted to, like, a captain. Let's say they send you out to, like, a planet to try to secure, like, the planet's, like, alliance with, like, their military. Basically, you're trying to make it so the colony is under their protection, meaning that the colony would give them food or, hell, weapons or even manpower during, like, battles and that. And basically, I imagine the next game you would have, like, I should probably go more in depth in that, like, thing. Let's say that you decide to be, like a Turian, like, soldier. You're basically got command with, like, trying to actually convince, like, settlements to actually join, like, your cause and that. They basically end up, like, change into that banner or that. Or hell, let's say that you are, like, a human alliance member and you basically became an N7 and you're trying to do the same with other colonies. Isn't that? Basically, you get them to join or that. Or hell, let's say that you decide to actually, like, pick, like, a path where you're not actually part of any government or that, where you are actually, like, a settler or, hell, maybe a mercenary or even a pirate. Let's say that you pick a pirate and you're basically trying to get a gang together and that. Let's say you go to a settlement, you offer them protection. Now, you could actually choose between actually protecting them or just taking their money and saying that you will. Me personally, I would probably protect them and make it so, like, somebody, like, troops and that were there. Or including, like, some of my members and that. But let's say that the game actually has, like, an in-depth customization thing. You could actually pick, like, which faction you're which faction you're a part of, I guess. As I couldn't say the fancy word of that. Sorry about that, goblins. But I really hope the next game is, like, where you're rebuilding that. Like, let's say that you're on a planet and you have, like, a difficult choice. Like, let's say that there's more than one colony on the planet.
This area can be mined for resources. You can extract minerals via your mining interface.
I think we can go down there now, right? Let's say that you basically are, like, trying to actually get a planet to help you out. Now, let's say certain colonies will actually have certain resources that other colonies won't. However, I imagine some colonies would not like each other. Like, let's say there's a Salarian colony on this one planet and a Krogan colony as well. Now, if you Oddlings are new to this, like, Krogan and Salarian talk, then I suggest you go play the other games, or at least, like, go check out the remastered trilogy when it comes out, and come back to this video whenever you goblins find it. Now, let's say that the Krogans are offering to basically join, like, your little, I guess, like, new, like, new government, or new, like, council thing or that. I really should have thought that out. Like, let's say that they're willing to join your faction, and they'll offer, like, Krogan troops for you. But let's say, like, the Salarians are offering, and basically, like, new memes for farming, like new technology that could help your farms on some of your settlements, including colony worlds you already have. Basically boost in like the production of food in that. Basically, it would be a difficult choice in that. Now, you might be like one of those people who want to actually try to broker a deal between the two of them and try to get them to join. However, I imagine that there will be like other factions on the planet who won't want to join you if you get the Solarians and the Krogan together. Or hell, if you pick one faction, and I imagine there will be like a faction that you pick and then all the other factions would not want to help you and that sort of thing. So basically, let's say the meter on the top left corner of my screen here is like a faction meter. Or imagine that there's like 4, 5, or even 6 factions on a planet, basically colonies. Some of them are close by, some of them are further apart. Now, let's say that there's like a ranking system.
I heard someone request EOS deployment. Made me smile.
A hard world, but you can get used to anything if you try.
Tough to get used to life on this rock. Too long staring at it from the Nexus and knowing we'd failed.
Huh. But, what was I? Oh, let's say that there's like a meter. It shows like factions. Like, let's say that there's like 3 like bars in between like each square there. One of them is for like how much they get along with other factions. Let's say that bar is blue. Another one is for, or basically, how much like crops they produce, and another one is for, or how much like strength they have, meaning like troops in that. Actually, let's say there's 5 bars. Or let's say that like troop thing is like red and the crop is green. Now the next one is population. Let's say that one is yellow, and the final one is basically liked, meaning that other settlements like them. Let's say that one is purple, I guess. Or, yeah, purple, I guess. Now, let's say, like, you could actually see what settlement offers what. Now, you might want to go with the settlement that has the most food in that. But remember, food is like a lure to pirates, raiders, and pretty much everything in between. But then again, and you might want to actually go with the faction that has strength. But remember, not everybody knows how to farm in that. So basically, what I'm saying is if you decide to go with like a certain settlement thing where they only know how to farm in that, you basically be pretty much, I guess, screwed if you got attacked. Unless you like hired like some mercenaries or other stuff. Now, I imagine the main story of the game would be to basically try to actually rebuild, basically taking some planets, turn them into colonies or that. I imagine if you were like going in alone and you weren't part of a government in that, other like civilizations would try to reach out to you to try to get you to join their side, or at least become part of an alliance with them. However, I imagine the game would be to try to, I guess, stop like either like a generic bad guy or maybe even something else. Maybe you're trying to actually like, I guess, try to find out something or that. However, I think the main story will be basically you trying to rebuild the Milky Way galaxy, discovering new like technologies, is helping out new races or even the old ones, and it's deciding who gets to live on the planets that you colonize. It's choosing who you ally with, that sort of thing. And I do imagine you would be able to go to other colonies or even like other places. I imagine the more you level up like a colony, like let's say you have a small colony, it'll look like a, let's drive over here real quick. Let's say you start up a small settlement and you manage to get like a good amount of crops, you manage to get like a good amount of population, and basically it would look like that right over there. Now, let's say the bigger like the settlement gets, like the more you upgrade it, the bigger it'll get. Now, let's say that like there's, I guess, 7 upgrades. It's basically, it starts off as like a settlement, then it becomes a town, then it'll become basically, or I guess a settlement, outpost, town. You goblins get the gist. I imagine it could eventually become like a city. Now, if a settlement became a city, I imagine it would be, well, how do I put this? I imagine, like, if you had, like, a settlement become a city, it would be, like, I guess, big, like, majorly big, and I imagine you wouldn't be able to go everywhere in there, but I imagine there would be more, like, I guess, market areas where you could actually sell, trade stuff, that sort of thing. I imagine there would be, like, ship docks where you could actually repair ships, or even buy some ships for, like, the settlement or that. Hell, I even imagine you could actually become, like, a merchant settlement, a mercenary settlement, or, hell, a pirate settlement that actually does farm for their food, but they go out looting that. Or, hell, well, if you don't want it to be, like, a settlement or that, and you could always go with, like, let's say you wanted to be, like, a Krogan overlord, and you wanted to actually make your own clan. I imagine you could actually make your own clan in the next game if you actually were able to, like, basically play as, like, a Krogan or that. But, again, for the main story, I figure it would basically be the player trying to actually rebuild the Milky Way, trying to discover, like, new technology, and maybe even in the game will actually involve... I need a drink. Shit, sorry.
I hear resource shipments are up. A good sign for people trying to live here.
Hopefully, Prodromos sets a high bar.
Can't wait to see what the initiative makes of this planet.
Now, I really do hope that the game is, like, it'll be based, like, trying to build settlements and that. I like the idea in this game, but there were several things I hated about this game. And if they do that, they need to focus on the story in that. And they need to focus on other stuff. I haven't been able to focus on much of the story when I was thinking about it. I thought of, like, stuff they could add in that. There was, like, one thing I came up with, like, let's say that you picked, like, a race in that, and basically you picked, like, a... Like, let's say you picked an in-depth backstory. Like, let's say you're a mercenary in that, you're part of, like, a mercenary band. I imagine, like, the bad guy would differ between, like, the characters you make and their backstories. Like, let's say that you're an N7, that you're basically part of the Human Alliance. I imagine you would get betrayed by another N7, who basically kills, like, your entire unit and left you for dead. And now I imagine you could actually be basically going against that person. They're trying to, like, basically start up, like, their own, like, civilization or that sort of shit. I know, not very well thought out, but I thought it was an interesting idea, even if it is kind of shitty. But that would actually be pretty interesting to see, in my opinion. Basically, being able to actually make a character and then, like, picking what their affiliation is with, like, let's say that you are a Asari and you basically are a Asari commando, you get, like, betrayed again, that sort of thing. I imagine, like, the story would start off with you being betrayed or something. And that's pretty much it for, like, how I thought, like, the story would go. I'll probably put more thought into it for another, like, part 2 video or that, but now I want to talk about, like, some of the features I imagine that would go with that story, and, like, features that I actually wish to see. Now, I'm going to go with number 1, and the number 1 thing I wish to actually see in, like, features is basically, I guess, being able to, like, let's say that you did, like, a side mission in that. In some, like, games, side missions will branch out depending on your choices in that. I hope they add, like, a feature that actually makes it so, like, let's say you do this one side mission, then this other side mission is no longer available. Okay, that's more of, like, a story thing, but shit. I think I fucked up there. Basically, I want to see more in-depth side missions that would actually affect, like, the story more. I wish to see, like, more characters. I wish to see better NPCs in the game. Not just ones that'll stand around and ones that'll walk around once in a while in that, and, like, some that you can overhear conversations from. Like, I would like to hear conversations more often in that. See more people, like, acting like they are alive in that. I'd like to see more like, NPCs you can talk to. Hell, I would even like to see more romance options. And I would like to actually see how they would affect the story in that. Hell, I would actually like to see, like, a customizable, like, backstory where you can actually pick, like, your race, that sort of thing. Let's say in the backstory that you are married, you have kids, or, hell, you're dating somebody. That somebody would appear in the game, I imagine. And right away. Now they could actually probably die during like the intro to the game, depending on your choices, or maybe they actually don't die. Maybe you have a falling out with them and you decide to go with somebody different, or you actually manage to stay loyal to them and that sort of stuff. But I'm going to talk about like features I wish to see in this game idea I'm talking about. Now, the number one feature is being able to pick what races are like allowed on the planet. Like what races you want to see in your settlement, basically. Like who is the people settling there. Basically, you could have like a mix of like different races, or make it so it's like open to 2 races, or hell, some of them, or only 1 race. Another thing is this basically customize like the buildings. Make it so you can pick like what the settlement looks like what certain buildings look like. Pick what certain buildings go where, practically. Well, not what buildings go where, but yeah, goblins get what I'm trying to say. I would also like to see you being able to pick like the color of some of the buildings. I would like to see you like pick what the planet's flag is, or the name, or even pick who's in charge. Hell, I would actually like to see you be able to pick if like there will be elections for who's ever in charge of the settlement. Or hell, I would actually like to see the player character even be in charge of the settlement. Hell, I would actually like to see NPCs actually get pissed off if the settlement's being ignored. I imagine if the settlement's being ignored enough, the NPCs will actually rebel and basically take over the settlement. To which then you would either have to try to take it back by force or peaceful means. Basically trying to talk your way back into like the settlement's like, I guess, management, I guess. Now, I do hope to see like customizable armor like in this game. I do hope to see like other features in that. Let's actually leave the planet real quick. One thing I really hope to see is basically being able to send out strike teams, or even scavenger teams, or survey teams, as it were. Now you might be wondering, Skelly, what are you talking about? Well, in Mass Effect Andromeda, you have like these strike teams that you can send out. You can join in on these strike teams and play with, I think, other players. Yeah, you can play with other players. Now, strike teams are able to get like supplies and other stuff for you. Basically stuff you can like use, craft with, that sort of thing. However, I thought they could also do like other stuff with that. Instead of like sending out a strike team, you send out a survey team. Now, I imagine a survey team would be people who are just like surveying an area, gathering like intel or data or even scientific like discoveries, that sort of thing, like discovering stuff. I imagine if they like discovered like, let's say, ruins to like a city or that, you could then send out like a archaeologist team, I guess, that would be sent out there to try to dig up the city.
Before the meeting gets started, I have bunk assignments for PB and Drac.
Already put my rucksack in the kitchen. I'll have it.
That's fantastic.
Sorry about this. That was supposed to be for my Let's Play. Alright. Shouldn't have left. Fuck. Oh well. I can just reload a save. So, anyways, where was I? I do hope to be able to see like the ability to pick what ship you get. Now, mind you, I like the Tempest, I like the Normandy, but I wouldn't have mind like being able to customize the ship, like picking what it looked like, picking your crew. Instead, you get like handed like certain crew members in that. But I kind of hope to actually have a feature where you can actually hire people, become friends with people, and have them like join your crew, that sort of thing. But to get back to like the strike missions and that, I imagine you'd also send out like teams for like exploring, like that sort of thing, or people like send out teams who would actually pick like colony sites and that. Then they'll like send a message to you. You pick which site they go to set up a colony. Or hell, you could actually go down to the planet yourself and actually find those sites and see them for yourself instead of like seeing like pictures of them. Huh. So these guys were successful. But this is like strike teams. I imagine you could actually send out strike teams or exploration teams, or hell, even send out like teams who would actually try to talk like, I guess, talk to other settlements, try to get a trade aid agreement going with them. Now, I imagine like in certain settlements you would not actually be able to trade with some people. Well, hell, I even imagine you could actually make some of your like colonies neutral worlds if you manage to actually take over the entire planet. Now you might be wondering, Scully, what's a neutral world? It's basically a world where anybody can go to like trade in that. However, it does mean anybody, even like some of your enemies in that. Now, I imagine some like places you would not be able to go if you were basically a pirate or a mercenary, or basically you decided to go against some of the other like civilizations trying to actually fix the Milky Way in their own like way. But that would actually add to the fun of it. Now, I do kind of hope to have like a feature where you can have a pet. Now you might be wondering, Scully, why do you want a pet? Well, I always wanted a pet. Ah, man, I forgot the thing's name. In the original trilogy, there's like this dog-like thing. Is that what they're called? I haven't played it in a long time, and I can't wait to play the trilogy remaster. But anyways, I always wanted one of those dog things as a pet, or maybe one of those. What are they called? Pyjaks? Those monkey things? I always wanted one of those as a pet as well. Basically, I always wanted to have like pets from like the games in like the ships and that. I imagine if the story was like rebuilding the Milky Way and that, and you're basically setting up colonies and that, I imagine they would have to focus on the story more, and they would have to focus on loads of the details in that. And if it was open world in that, I do hope they do it right. But I do hope they also add DLCs in that. This is just me saying I hope. Well, I am hoping, but if they don't go with open world and they decide to actually go with like one of the older like classic versions of the game, I would be okay with that as well. Oh, I like Mass Effect, but Mass Effect Andromeda was a dumpster fire. They could have fucking redeemed it with DLC. They set up a DLC, well, DLCs for the game, but I don't mean like they had them on the go. I mean they set up like I don't want to spoil it if there's anybody who's new to this, but in Mass Effect Andromeda, you basically hear from the Quarian arc, an arc that's been missing. You also like try to figure out who the the creators of the Remnant are. Those could have been DLCs that redeemed the game. Could have added like new features or even new like settlements in that. But yeah, there's that. I would like to see the Paragon and Renegade system added into the game. However, I would also like to actually see more in-depth like things. Like, let's say that you actually were going to say hi to somebody. Let's say you click on the dialogue wheel that would actually say hi, and basically 4 options popped up. Basically being able to say hi in different ways. You could say hi like hi, or hello, what's up, or greetings, or that sort of thing. Basically, I'd like to see different versions of the word that you could actually say. Now, I know you goblins would probably say Scully. That would be a lot of work. But you goblins forget. This game would actually be a lot of work, the game I'm talking about, if they actually did go with this idea. But it would actually be pretty fun, at least in my opinion. Another thing is, I would hope they actually add the feature where you could actually pick the name for the ship. Or even pick like the color of the ship. Now, that is pretty much it for like, I guess, features in that. The story, I think it would just be you trying to rebuild the Milky Way galaxy. I imagine you would see probably some old faces of like the characters of that. Probably being the key word in that. But in my opinion, if they did do that, I hope they do it right. And here's another thing, and I hope they actually do pretty right. Making it so like make it so there's like missions that go with like the romance like options and that. Like when you romance a character, it's like building a relationship in that. And I wouldn't mind like seeing the ability to, instead of like waiting for like a mission where you like, or like a side objective where you just go and talk to them, I would like to see it like naturally build. Like let's say that you actually contact them through like a shit, I forgot what it was called. Basically, let's say you call them asking them if they wanted to see a movie or wanted to get something to eat. You basically go to dinner with them. You basically try to talk to them, that sort of thing. Learn about them. Try to make them laugh, that sort of thing. I imagine, I said thing a lot, didn't I? I imagine they basically try to focus on like the main story in that, but I wouldn't mind them focusing on some of the characters' personal relationship stories, like becoming friends with somebody, becoming lovers with another person, becoming enemies with another person. Here's another thing I would actually like to see. Let's say that during one mission you face off against a bad guy. There's like 4 outcomes, I imagine. 1, the person gets killed. 2, they get captured and either put like in a cell or put to death by like the person you capture them for or for yourself. Well, 3, they basically like straight up like escape and basically cause havoc for more of your settlements, only for you to run into them again. Or 4, you end up basically killing them. Well, not killing them, but killing them. Basically, I imagine in like some of the enemies that you actually shoot, some of them might actually survive like being shot, or blown up, or like thrown out into space, that sort of thing. Let's say that some of like the enemies that you thought were dead weren't dead and made appearances later on. Some of them showing like injuries, like let's say that one of them got their arms like blown off and that, and you thought they were dead because like a ship was like exploding and crashed into like a planet. And let's say that you end up seeing them later on, they're wearing like a metal arm, like a cybernetic arm, or because of that little thing that you did to them. I was thinking of like kind of like Shadow War there, where you have like Nemesis there for a moment. Sorry about that, but I still think that would actually be an interesting feature. But I think the major feature I wish to see is being able to actually customize like your backstory, your race, that sort of thing. Now, I imagine, like, if you decide to not go down the route of, like, rebuilding the Milky Way, like, I imagine you would have the option to, but I imagine, like, the story could go, like, 3 ways. Like, let's say that you decide to be, like, a character. You made your character, you basically picked their affiliation that, let's say that the faction that you're a part of believes you dead and basically classified you dead. Let's say that you decide to be like a human M7, then you could like go down 3 different paths. You could rejoin them and try to actually play out that story with them. You could go down your own path and basically it would branch out into like 5 new paths. One where you basically live like a normal life on a planet, that sort of thing, like events play out. Or like other ways is I imagine like the 3rd path would be basically you going straight rogue and going against everybody. But back to the story thing, when I said there was basically, like, how I think it would start off with, like, a revenge thing, I imagine at the end of the story you basically get your revenge on the person or not get it at all. It all really depends on, like, choices in that, I imagine. Now, I know a lot of you are probably going to hate what I said, say, Scully, that was shit, and some of you might actually just, like, liked what I suggested, some of you might add your own opinions in the comments, which I would appreciate hearing, like, what you goblins would want to see in the next Mass Effect game. And me, personally, I just want to be able to, like, play as a different race for once. Not just play as, like, a regular old human. Now, I imagine they would only be able to stick, like, with certain races. Like, I imagine you could play as, like, a Drell, Folus, Krogan, Turian, and Solarian, Quarian, or a Asari, or a human. That's the races I imagine you actually play as. But if they decide to go with human, I hope they make it so you can customize your backstory and that. Make it so you could actually start off like in a relationship or with like some friends of yours or that sort of thing. Basically make it deep, make it personal, that sort of thing. Pick a name for the character. Or just what they look like, and for the love of God, focus on the story. You take some of the gunplay from Andromeda, including like the jump jet, or jump pack. I like the jetpack. That's all I'm going to say. Take some of the stuff from it. The open world I did like, but I do miss the old classic feel of the Mass Effect. If they somehow found a way to combine that with like the open world thing, I would be content. But I would actually want to have like a good story. But that is mostly it for like features in that. If they do go down the path of like rebuilding Andromeda, just do me a favor, BioWare, do it right. Like, I know they have like some of the original creators working on the next game in that, and so I know it's in good hands, but still, I'm kind of worried. I grew up playing this game. I just want to see it like, I just want to see it basically come to life again. But, yeah, goblins, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you goblins would like to see. I would like to see customizable weapons, or even be able to create your own weapons, or create your own, like, settlement in that. Pick, like, what villains you use. Pick what races are there. Pick who, like, the settlement would be good for. Actually, here's something I would actually find interesting. If they made it so, like, the certain planets were only viable for certain species, let's say that you could only let, like, certain species live on there, or if there was, like, a planet that was viable for all species, let's say multiple species would be, like, arguing, saying who would get to live there, that sort of thing. But anyways, goblins, that's pretty much it. Let me know down in the comments below what you would actually suggest it. What story you think could have been done. And that's just one of the stories, I think. And I think another story would basically be trying to rebuild the relays, trying to get, like, people to join, like, the new Citadel Council, or at least trying to actually make it so some of them would have a seat on the council, that sort of thing. I just hope they actually do the next game right. That's all I'm hoping for. That's all anybody could actually ask for. Anyways. But anyways, goblins, if you're new to the channel, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. And if you're new to the channel because you clicked on this because you saw Mass Effect speculation, that sort of thing, I do gotta say at the end of this, I should say it at the beginning, none of the stuff I said has, like, information behind it. This is just stuff that I think might be in the next game. But let me know in the comments what you would have said, what story you think should have been, like, said there, or what features you wish to see. Me, I wish to see customizable races and basically more in-depth, like, stories for the characters, including, like, the main story. But if they do go down that path, I gotta say, I really hope I can actually be basically outlaw. But anyways, goblins, to my fellow goblins out there, may your pockets be full of gold, may your looting be, and may you always have a village or a kingdom nearby that you can always loot and plunder to your heart's content. Ah, man, I need to get a drink. But anyways, goblins, peace out and goodbye. I really hope they do the next game right. Oh shit, forgot to end it. Sorry about that.